Willow Creek was a small town where everyone knew each other by name. The streets were lined with tall trees whose leaves whispered softly in the gentle breeze. It was springtime. The air was fresh and filled with the scent of flowers blooming everywhere. Birds sang their cheerful songs as if they knew today would be special. On one quiet afternoon, as a cozy little house with a white picket fence, a little girl named Ellie was playing outside. She was 8 years old with bright eyes, full of hope and a smile that could light up the darkest days. But what made her happiest was her puppy, Max. Max was just 6 months old, golden-furred, and full of energy. He was a bundle of joy with floppy ears and a tail that wagged like a little windmill. Ellie had found Max at the animal shelter a few months ago, and from that day, they were inseparable. Wherever Ellie went, Max followed. Wherever Max went, Ellie was never far behind. That afternoon, Max chased butterflies in the front yard, leaping and bounding with endless excitement. Ellie laughed as she threw a small red ball, and Max ran after it, his paws thudding softly on the grass. It was a perfect moment, simple, joyful, full of life. But the moment changed in a blink. Ellie's father had forgotten to close the front gate properly after mowing the lawn. The gate swung open just enough for Max to slip through. Max's eyes caught a bright blue butterfly fluttering down the street. Curious and playful, he dashed after it without looking back. "Max!" "No," Ellie shouted, dropping the ball. Her heart dropped into her stomach. She ran after him, her little legs pumping as fast as they could go. The neighborhood was quiet except for the sound of her footsteps and Max's distant bark. But when she reached the street corner, Max was nowhere to be seen. Ellie stopped, breathless and scared. "Max," she called again, voice trembling. But there was only silence. Ellie's chest tightened with a pain she had never felt before. She ran back home, hoping to find him waiting in the yard, wagging his tail, but the gate was still open. And Max was gone. Her parents came rushing outside, faces full of worry. "We'll find him, Ellie," her mother said gently. "Let's look around the neighborhood." They searched every corner, every park bench, calling Max's name until their voices were hoarse. Ellie left out his favorite blanket, his food bowl, and even her worn-out teddy bear, hoping Max would smell her and come home. Days passed like heavy shadows. Ellie's mornings started with hope and ended with tears. She missed Max terribly, the way he'd nuzzle her hand, the way he'd curl up beside her at night. Neighbors joined the search, posting flyers on telephone poles and in shops. Everyone who knew Ellie and Max wanted to help, but the nights were the hardest. Ellie lay awake in her bed, clutching the scarf Max loved to chew. She whispered softly, "Please come home, Max. I'm waiting." Her small room felt empty without the soft sound of Max's breathing or the warmth of his body beside her. The pain of losing. Max was more than just sadness. It was the feeling of a part of her heart missing, a quiet ache that grew with every passing day, yet deep down, Ellie refused to give up. She believed Max was out there somewhere, lost and scared, but still trying to find his way back to her every evening. She looked out her bedroom window, eyes searching the dark road for a familiar golden shape. Max was not just a puppy. He was her best friend, her little shadow, the one who made the world seem brighter, and Ellie knew, no matter how long it took, Max would come home again. Max was lost. But inside that small, brave heart of his, he held one strong feeling: love. Love for Ellie, the girl who had saved him from the shelter and given him a home filled with kindness and warmth. And with that love came loyalty, the kind that pushes a dog to do the impossible. Max didn't know exactly where he was. The streets looked different, the smells were strange, and the sounds were louder than he remembered. But even though the world around him felt confusing and scary, Max never stopped believing he could find his way back to Ellie. The first night was the hardest. As the sun dipped below the trees and darkness wrapped the town like a heavy blanket, a bush. The wind whispered through the leaves, and the distant sounds of cars and people reminded him how far he'd wandered. He missed Ellie's soft voice calling his name, missed the warmth of his bed, and the feel of her hand stroking his fur. Stomach growled with hunger. For a puppy used to bowls filled with fresh food and water, this new life was hard. Max had to learn quickly. He sniffed around trash cans, carefully avoiding broken glass and sharp metal. He found scraps of bread left behind by kind strangers. Sometimes a friendly passerby tossed him a small piece of sandwich or a drop of water. Max knew he couldn't stay in one place. If he stayed, he'd never find Ellie, so he kept moving forward, day after day, guided only by the memory of her face, her laugh, and the promise in his heart. Sometimes he crossed muddy rivers where the cold water shocked his paws, but he kept stepping. Sometimes the sun blazed hot overhead, making his tongue dry and his fur sticky. He climbed over rocks and through tall grass that tickled his nose. Each new challenge was a test when he met with courage. One morning, Max woke to find a small cut on his paw. Sharp glass had hidden beneath the dirt, and it hurt to walk. But he didn't stop. He licked the wound gently, trying to make it better. He knew he had to be strong. For Ellie at night under a sky filled with stars, Max would look up and imagine Ellie's face. He would dream of running back to her, tail wagging. With all the stories of his journey hidden in his tired eyes, Max didn't have a map. No one was guiding him. But he had something far greater: loyalty. This loyalty pushed him through rainstorms that soaked his fur and made his bones shiver. It kept him going when hunger made his stomach ache and when the nights were so cold. He shivered beneath broken branches. On one particularly cold night, Max found shelter beneath an old, rusty farm shed. The rain pounded hard, but inside he was safe enough to close his eyes for a little while. He dreamed of warm blankets and Ellie's smile. Despite the loneliness, the hunger, and the fear, Max never gave up. In the distance, he sometimes heard the laughter of children playing. His ears would perk up. Maybe it was Ellie calling him? But when he reached the sound, it wasn't her. Still, he kept going. Every step, every struggle. Every moment of pain was worth it because he knew, somewhere out there, Ellie was waiting. Max's journey was long. The roads twisted and turned like rivers in the night, but the puppy's heart stayed steady. His love was a compass pointing him home, because Max wasn't just lost. Max was brave. Max was loyal. And Max was coming back. Back in the quiet town of Willow Creek, life went on but for Ellie Parker. Time seemed to stand still. Every day without Max felt heavier than the last. The house was quieter. The rooms felt emptier. Ellie missed the soft patting of paws on the wooden floor and the happy bark that greeted her after school. But even though weeks had passed, Ellie never gave up hope. She still believed Max was out there somewhere. Lost but alive, trying to find his way back to her. Every morning, Ellie would wake up early and run to the front porch. He looked down the street, searching for any sign of her golden puppy. Sometimes neighbors would smile sadly and say, "We're sorry, Ellie. We hope he comes home soon." Ellie just nodded. Her heart ached, but she held on to one thought. Max would come back. Her parents tried to comfort her. But Ellie knew this was different. It wasn't just about missing a pet, it was about missing a friend. Someone who had changed her world with a wagging tail and a sloppy kiss. So Ellie found ways to keep Max close. Even if he wasn't there, she drew pictures of him with his big, kind eyes and floppy ears. She taped the drawings on the walls of her room and in the window, hoping that anyone who saw them might help bring Max home. Ellie also left out food and water every day near the gate. "If Max is out there, hungry and tired, I want him to know he's welcome," she whispered. On a chilly evening, Ellie took Max's favorite scarf, soft and worn from all the chewing, and tied it to the big oak tree in the front yard. She believed that maybe Max would see it and know it meant home. "Nobody can love you like I do." "Max," she said softly, brushing the scarf with her fingers. Days stretched into weeks, and Ellie's hope became her strength. Sometimes she cried herself to sleep, but every morning she woke up ready to wait a little longer. One night, after the sun had set and the streetlights glowed like tiny stars, Ellie sat on the porch steps. She hugged her knees close and stared. Down the quiet road, her eyes were tired, but she didn't want to give up. Suddenly, from the shadows, she saw a small shape moving slowly toward the house. Her heart jumped. Was it a trick of the light, or could it be? She stood up slowly, calling out Max. The figure paused. Max's golden fur was dirty and matted. His paws were scratched and sore. He looked tired beyond his months, and yet his eyes held something familiar, a spark of recognition. Max took a hesitant step forward. Ellie's breath caught in her throat. "Max, it's really you." With a burst of energy, Max ran the last few steps and leaped into Ellie's arms. She held him tight, tears streaming down her face. His rough tongue licked her cheeks as if to say, "I'm here. I'm home." The whole neighborhood seemed to hold its breath as Ellie and Max reunited on that quiet street. Neighbors gathered around, sharing in the joy and relief. Ellie's father knelt down, wrapping his arms around Max, whispering, "You found your way back." Boy. Max's journey had been long and hard, but Ellie's faith never wavered. Their bond, their love and loyalty was stronger than any distance or danger. That night, as Ellie and Max settled back inside their warm home, the scarf fluttered softly. In the breeze outside, it's tied forever to the oak tree that marked the place where home was waiting. Asterisk the moment Max's muddy paws touched the porch, everything changed. Ellie's arms were wrapped tightly around him, holding him as if she could never let go. Tears streamed down her cheeks, mixing with Max's wet nose and rough tongue as he licked her face, trying to comfort her in his own way. Max was tired. His fur was dirty and matted, his paws scraped and sore. But his eyes, those warm, loyal eyes, were shining brighter than ever. They told a story of courage, love, and an unbreakable bond. Ellie's parents rushed outside, drawn by the noise. They knelt down beside Max, their faces softening with relief and awe. "Look at him," Ellie's mother whispered. "He's been through so much." Her father gently examined Max's injured paw, carefully cleaning the cut. "He's a fighter," he said softly, "and he never gave up." For Max, the long journey was over. After wandering for nearly a month, braving rain and cold, hunger and fear, he had found his way home. Inside the house, Ellie's little brother reached out to pet Max's head. And Max, despite his exhaustion, gave a small, happy wag of his tail. It was like a silent promise he was back, and he was staying that night. The family made a cozy bed for Max by the fireplace. Ellie wrapped him in a soft blanket and whispered, "You're safe now, Max. You're home." Max settled down, finally, able to relax. His body ached from the journey, but his heart was full as the fire crackled. Ellie stroked Max's golden fur, thinking about everything he had been through. She remembered the cold nights, the hunger, the loneliness. Set Max's spirit never broke. He was more than a pet, he was a hero. Outside, the old oak tree stood tall, its branches swaying gently in the night breeze. The scarf Ellie had tied there weeks ago fluttered softly, a quiet symbol of hope, waiting, and love. Max had come home because love never forgets. It never fades. It is the light that guides us through the darkest times. And in the morning, when the sun rose over Willow Creek, Max would wake up, surrounded by family, warmth, and the promise of new adventures. For Ellie, Max was not just a lost puppy who returned. He was a reminder that true loyalty can overcome any obstacle, that courage can shine in even the smallest hearts, and that no matter how far we wander, love will always bring us back home. Max's journey was over, but their story, the story of love, loyalty, and hope, was just beginning. Moral message: true loyalty knows no distance. When love is strong, even the longest journey leads home.